Good morning. Glad you could join us today. I want to share something that inspired me in a devotional that I read that was written by Paul David Tripp from his book, New Morning Mercies. And it talks about Romans chapter 15, verse 5. Paul calls your Lord the God of endurance and encouragement. And what he goes on to say is this title is a really good one. So God calls us to persevere in our faith. And then with powerful grace, he protects and he keeps you. This gets to the center of our hope. See, endurance. Sometimes we endure and sometimes we don't. But if God is the God of endurance, then we can lean on his endurance. So I like to play tennis, and a lot of times you go out and you play if it's just for fun, or it's not a league or something. You don't have to have a winner of a full match. You just get one set in, and then maybe that takes an hour, and then somebody wins that, and then maybe you play the second one. You can say, we're just going to go to 4. But when I play gladiator matches, somebody has to win 2 sets, and sometimes it means you have to go to 3 sets. Now, I'll be honest, and I trust that not too many of my gladiator competitors are out there. I usually don't want to go to a 3rd set. And that will motivate me very much at the end of a first set that's very close, because I don't like to lose. I want to win. And they're pretty good at putting me against people that are very evenly matched against me, which means it's like playing yourself, okay? Which sometimes is not fun, because I don't give up and the other guy doesn't give up. But the point is, I never want to let the other person know that I really don't want to get to a 3rd set. And one time, I misunderstood this other guy. I misread him. He didn't want to go to a 3rd set. He was young, but the problem was he had played a lot of tennis the day before. Afterwards, he confessed that he didn't want to go to a 3rd set. And my strategy was off with that. But I say all of that to say that sometimes your endurance is going to be spotty at best. Sometimes we're just not going to have the want to. And that's when we can lean on God. I like what he says here. He says, think with me, when you as a Christian say something nasty to another person, I know none of you would ever do that, but just imagine you did. You don't do it because you're ignorant that it's wrong, but because at that point, you don't give a rip what's right or wrong. Isn't that the truth, that when we lack endurance, when we lack hope, we know that what we're doing is wrong. I remember telling somebody about before I became a follower of Jesus that some of the things that I did that were wrong. And he's like, well, you did know that they were wrong. And I was emphasizing, well, I wasn't a follower of Jesus yet. But he just kept saying, but you knew it was wrong. It's like, well, yes, I did. But the reality is that even people that follow Jesus do things that are wrong, and they know that they're wrong. So the good news is that the bad news is we don't have perfect endurance, because that would demand perfection on our part. We don't have that. But our hope of enduring is not to be found in my character or your strength, but in the Lord's, because he will ever be faithful, and you can bank on that fact. To wrap it up, when difficulty exposes the weakness of your resolve and the limits of your strength, you do not have to panic. You don't have to say, I'm going to give up because I know I can't make it 3 sets. No, because the Lord will endure even in those moments when you don't feel able to do so yourself. I'll tell you something else I've learned about tennis. There are times where I'm really low energy. I never like to tell my opponent that, but it's just amazing that sometimes, out of nowhere, the energy comes back. And the same thing happens spiritually when we lean on Jesus. Have a great day.